brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market and by the first album recorded by the Police.
Yeah.
The stuff that we do off camera. The stuff that we do off camera.
You talking about my beautiful music notes? Is that what we're speaking of, DK?
Ramon was just hitting it with his rendition of Roxanne, which if you're really nice, he might or might not share with you at some point in this program.
Roxanne. That's all I got. I don't want to embarrass myself even more.
Not that you don't have to put on the red light line.
No. Well, you gave me more lyrics than that. I'm like, Roxanne was really out here.
Oh, yeah. She doesn't have to sell her body to the night.
Ooh, well, I'll leave that one alone. But hey, just think that was mainstream music.
Well, actually, the first Police album was a pretty big deal. You know,
Yeah.
They didn't really make it big until their third.
Get out.
Oh, yeah. That was when they had the the da, and whatever. I was into the Police. I was into the Police. Yeah.
Nice.
Guitar and all that other stuff, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I was into the Police too because I donated a workhorse to them too.
I know you did. I know you did.
Absolutely.
We also can talk football, Moan. We can do that as well, you know?
And we shall, because that's what they tune in for. The sideshow is where we get all the comments. The football part is where they go tell their friends what we said, which I'm okay with that too, as long as we're right, DK.
Yeah, this is key. And you know one thing that we can't possibly be wrong about? Your head coach loves run defense. There's been almost no subject you can bring up with him the past 3 days without it coming back to run defense. And it should. I mean, they shut down Alvin Kamara over the weekend. They really, really did.
They did. To your point, man, 8 carries, 26 yards. Mind
and
you.
14 of those on one carry.
And what's crazy behind that is not like they were chasing this Steelers offense and it's just high-powered and scoring 40 points. No, they simply just couldn't run the ball, so they chose to stop running the ball. A guy that's an all-pro like Kamara, 8 carries? No.
In a close game, too. This wasn't one of those like where you abandon the run because you need to put up points or whatever else here. They just got stuffed. Now, full context, the Saints were missing 3 offensive linemen. And I've heard tell that offensive linemen are important in football. So you can't, I just saw that dismissive face that you made there. It's just because they have their problems and we don't care. But
exactly.
It was a factor. At the same time, when you see Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Alex Highsmith, the guys, including the inside linebackers, because Miles Jack wasn't available.
Right.
So when you see them getting after it like that, just tell me what impact it has on your head coach, first of all.
I'll just say this. Coach Tomlin is a manipulator, okay? Day one in training camp. Hear me out when I say this, because the same thing that you say about how he loves a good run defense, it's the same thing he's chirping on the offensive side of the ball about how he loves a good run game, okay? And you're probably saying, how can you have both, Mon? Well, as a head coach, you better ask for both, right? If it's your team. Offensively, man, if you got a team that can just steal yards, take yards, just abuse people up front, it opens up everything for you. And I mean just the passing game, the screen game, the play action game, everything opens up when it becomes a good running game. Now, on the other side of that, defense is what we're talking about. If you got a defense that can shut down a team in one dimension, meaning, look, I know you got a quarterback that can throw the ball and y'all want to, but it has to be set up by the running game. The run game to a lot of teams, and we always shy away from this. Look at the good offenses in this league. They usually have a good running game, the good passing offenses. The run game is usually really, really good, and we just choose to look over that. Why? Because the passing game is so pretty. Coach Tomlin has always been in a position where if we control the clock and make them one-dimensional, then we can control the game and figure out how we're going to light them up. The other side of this, too, is this. Pittsburgh is always known to being able to get after the quarterback, whether it be Cam, whether it be Larry Ogunjobi, whether it be TJ. Heck, you know we can forever go back, right, DK, when we're talking about who rushes the quarterback in Pittsburgh, right? Mm-hmm. From Lamar Woodley to James Harrison, okay? From linebackers being able to dial it up. You become more predictable of an offense whenever you can cut off one stream of it. And this is the thing, too. That good run defense stops those third downs. If it's 4 yards on first down, 3 yards on second down. Okay, third and 3 is very manageable. You open up the entire playbook still, right? And that's not what you want on the defense. It's that continuation of staying on the field that bothers defensive-minded coaches. Give me, hey, 2nd and 9. That's where you live at, because then you really got to start reconsidering what you're going to call. And in that point, there's tendencies. You see those coaches with those big play sheets and they're all different colors and stuff like that. Well, they've studied all week long. Well, and 2nd and 9, they're more likely to do this. It's very rare that coaches get outside of their world when they do things they're used to. Why? Because the playbook is better simplified. And if you get a defensive-minded coach and team like the Steelers have always been, the run game is always crucial to being able to stop, because you don't get caught off guard or have to just sub in and get beat down often, DK. It really shrinks the game when you only give up. What did they give up this past weekend? 30 yards on the ground? 29 yards on the ground.
29 yards. And I'm going to say it again. Alvin Kamara is one of the guys that was involved in that
team.
Yeah, and he's legit. And obviously Taysom Hill's obviously a mobile threat too. They just got nothing going, and they had to abandon it. Now, where your head coach is concerned, and it's funny that when we brought up the Steelers getting 217 yards on the ground of their own, and he would just come right back with, well, it was the running game on both sides of the ball. And if you think about the way this team is structured, built on, like you said, the pass rush for a long time, you don't want to be forfeiting pieces in any of the rest of your dynamic, because you have to make up for guys not being able to tackle, which is usually what this is all about. Okay, Cam and everybody else will emphasize gaps and everything, and that's fair, but it's ultimately about not being able to tackle. So once you get past Cam and Ogunjobi and these other guys, Moan, there's been other players who've been involved in this, haven't there? I mean, like, just as an example here, Alex Highsmith is a really stout run defender on his side of the field, isn't he? Terrell Edmonds was up at the line of scrimmage a lot. TE was involved in a lot of those plays that involved Kamara early on that discouraged him. So it's not just the D line, is it?
Yeah. No, it's not. And that's where Coach Tomlin usually always drops this line right here. Everybody got something dirty about their job. Meaning, little guys, you got to go fill gaps. You got to go hit guys. Like, if you want your big dudes up front to be able to hold blocks and get you in a position to make plays in space, make them. It's safeties. It's cornerbacks. It's specifically linebackers. That's why you go get those big guys up front, man. All of the legendary guys. They'll tell you, ask James Ferrier. Who was the saving grace of his career? Casey Hampton, Brett Kiesel, Travis Kersky. Like, think about that. Like, that matters, man, when it comes down to the run game. Everybody has to play a part. That really is where you're playing football more than anything, because that's the true definition of, like, physicality right there. When it's 11 on 11 run game. You know, and that's why he always stresses on the other side of the ball, wide receivers being able to block too, because those 5-yard plays turn into 15s and 50s whenever you got your wide receivers blocking. So go beat your man and don't trade a 1-for-1.
One name we're not going to get through this segment without mentioning. He got a game ball. He led the team in tackles, and he had a TFL on 4th and 1. Robert Spillane.
Robert Spillane.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You knew who it was.
Well, but that's his game though too, right?
It is. That's the one thing that gets him an NFL helmet on the weekends. Is he's a run stopper for sure. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention back to the other side of the football on one specific issue. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, and as promised on this immaculately organized and mapped out show that we do here every day, one highly specific issue related to the offense that we want to get into. What is that, Mon?
Playing well against a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I said team too, because I mean offense, defense, and special teams. Cincinnati will come into town a better team than we are, right?
No question.
The games we won, well, overtime, Cincinnati. I think we were just a better team that day. And as far as we know, what was it? 9 sacks on the day, whatever it was. We ended up getting 6 sacks on that first opening weekend. 7 sacks opening weekend. And then the Tampa Bay game in which we won against Tom Brady. And I know what you guys are thinking. No, it was Tom. They're a good team. No, let's not kid ourselves. Tom had a lot going on that week, and it looked like he had a lot going on. And guys really took advantage of that. And I will not get into his personal space. But like I know, they were not hitting on all cylinders when they came into town.
You just did.
I'm just saying, DK.
You can't say I'm not going to get into his personal space and not have that actually be in his personal space.
Well, he's been smiling ever since that announcement happened with him. And they've been winning since then also. So we called him at the right time. But this time around.
No question.
Yeah, this time around, you got Cincinnati that's looking for blood, right?
Well, the Bengals are a top 10 defense, and I mean that in the literal sense, as in they rank 10th in the league in allowing 324 yards per game. That means 10th in the good sense. That's the 10th fewest average yards. They, my feeling on the opener in Cincinnati remains the same as it was out there that day, which is that the Bengals weren't ready at all. I mean, they didn't participate enough in the preseason. They didn't use their starters. Who knows how much of a Super Bowl hangover they had. I don't know if you should be entitled to a Super Bowl hangover if you don't win it.
Exactly.
Not to be whatever, but
but seriously,
they're solid. They're solid defensively, and they're spread out solid too. They're not like it's just all loaded in one area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're sound.
They are sound, man, and they've gotten a whole lot better too. I mean, just looking at the way they've played ball since then. I know the loss to Cleveland doesn't sit well for them. What was it, a Thursday night game, if I'm not mistaken?
It was.
Monday night.
It was.
Whatever it was. But they couldn't stop Chubb or whatever else that night. Heck, at that point,
but even that only fortifies the point that we've been making, Moan, which is that the running game can top anything if you have it going the way the Browns did with Chubb that night. The Bengals had no answer for Chubb.
No, they did not.
In that game. You know who else didn't have an answer for Chubb this season? Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that went about the same way.
And then we have them freaking Sunday night. Okay, this is an 8:20 Eastern game.
Oh, no, it got moved up. It got moved up.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the networks want nothing to do with the Steelers anymore.
God.
I'm kidding.
We're there, DK?
Yeah, almost.
I refuse to live this life.
You know what?
I just,
but
that hurts me, DK.
I don't know what to tell you, Mo.
Did you could have texted me that after the show. You could have let me be wrong in the middle of the show,
no,
DK.
I couldn't do that. I feel too strongly about you to do that.
Okay, well, since he's better and we've gotten one win, okay? And with that being said, man, I'm joking, but it pains me to talk about this. But we're going to have our hands full. They're coming into our house and want to deliver that same embarrassment.
Well, yeah, they absolutely will, Mo. No question. This game means everything to them, not just from a revenge factor or anything, just in the standings, So from the Pittsburgh perspective, though, let's see some guys. Let's see them make a difference here. Okay, you get yourself your 217 yards on the ground against New Orleans, but how about just 100? How about that? What's a reasonable expectation right now?
That's going to be key. Of course, like being able to stop them first and foremost, because Joe Mixon is nice. Yeah. They have weapons on top of weapons offensively, too, and it seemed like that offensive line may be trying to get it together as far as Cincinnati is concerned. But what's reasonable, you said, for us, as far as to be respectable and get a dub at home, for them coming off of a bye week is this, DK, about 125 plus on the ground, man, whether it's Najee, whether it's running back by committee, whether it's Kenny, who's also shown that he can run the ball down the field and extend drives. That's what's going to be necessary, because in order for us to control this game, it has to be through the run game, in which Coach Tomlin, you said, spoke about this week, man, in general, because if you keep their weapons off the field, I feel better about our stagnant offense putting up points or controlling the narrative than I do theirs, man. I don't know if they're capable of being down the way they are. And the other part too, DK, you mentioned the Browns and what Nick Chubb did to them. If that's the recipe,
right.
Why would you not follow the recipe?
Yeah, why overthink it?
This is not.
You
the
say
week,
this all the time, but once you put something on film, People are going to come at you until you show that you can stop it.
100%, man. I don't understand why we would do anything differently. Like, we saw them move the line of scrimmage. Guess what, DK? We need to see that again this week, starting with Chooks. Yes, I'm calling him out.
Well, I'm going to take this one to a different level here.
Okay.
In that, if I ask you a question right now, if I ask you, do you feel like the Steelers targeted George Pickens enough the other day?
Ooh.
What's the first thing that comes to mind? Like, would you normally just think yes because you saw the couple of early targets, 2 out of the first 3 plays?
Yeah, I would.
Right? Right?
Yeah, I think they
capitalized. You know where he ended up? You know where he ended up?
3.
4 targets, 3 catches for 32 yards.
But
go ahead.
Again, we speak about working, right? Doing what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Why get away with it when the run game was being profitable for us?
No, okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But when I'm, and also for good context here, Pat Freiermuth had the most targets with only 7. Deontay Johnson had 5. So it was more a matter of not throwing the ball all that much than it was not finding George. But find George.
Find George. It's like,
George.
Hey, Waldo, right? Where's Waldo?
We like George.
We do. We've been
George.
liking George for a long time here.
We have. And eventually, maybe before he's fired, the offensive coordinator will find him as well. You know what I mean?
If he's smart, he does, right?
Oh, way to set that one up. So when we come back on the Ramon Foster Show, the only segment that matters.
That's Ramon.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. As always, it's the only segment that matters to close it out, and that is brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where quality is at the core of every menu item. 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub, burger, salad, wrap, drink, app, and of course, the Pilgrim is crafted for craveability. Order your favorite item at the Get-Go Cafe and Market today. Better believe it. I owe Moan a Pilgrim.
Yeah, you do.
As has been mentioned by only about 1 million people in the responses to yesterday's episode. One of those came from Joseph Arroyo, who says, "Hey, Moan, was Dan Moore getting played the other day against the Saints, and does he have to step up his game?"
Ooh. So here we go on this one. Again, we speak about...
What do you think about it?
Yeah.
What do you think about it? You're friends.
Uh-oh.
You're friends at Pro Football Focus, and they are your friends too. They probably walk around the PFF offices with Ramon shirts. This was the guy who told us off in Latrobe, everybody. We were all there in person too. It was great. Right in front of the whole team. Yeah. Y'all. What was the line again? Y'all suck.
Y'all suck. Yeah, that was it. And it's simply because they play with people's livelihoods, man, or they put certain people up on a pedestal with the public perception of what their grades say. And I think they know, like I know, there is no real judgment or grade to offensive line play from guys that never played it.
That's fair. However, in this case, they gave Dan Moore like a great grade, and they're being ripped for it. Out of all offensive linemen in the NFL, not just tackles, all OLs. No, wait. All offensive players of any position.
Oh.
Dan Moore was graded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th overall in the National Football League with a score of 89.6. The highest graded Steeler, Dan Moore.
Oh.
And they're getting just crushed for it. So it works in both directions.
It does. And you see, even in the good, DK, it's like no rhyme or reason, because I saw the tape too. The pick that we spoke about the other day, I get that one. Like, he was in a bad position as far as like the running back allowing him to get picked right there on that sack. Dan's just the big guy that was around the pile when that happened, man. But his game, I thought it was fair. I didn't think it was that high up on the list of offensive ranking, man. But Dan Moore in general. Let's speak about him in a sense on why you and I feel like he's being picked on. That's because it's tape. Again, I bragged on what I thought the Saints defense was and who I know their guys are. they are a smart bunch whenever it comes to how they play defense. They've been that way for a very long time. I know Sean Payton's not there right now. They got a new head coach and everything, but just in general, that defense and the players, the bodies that they have are always good. And Dan's been a little bit of a turnstile when it comes to playing left tackle. Whether they were getting pressures and PFF didn't see it or not, or whether Dan just got to find a way to just kind of bow up a little bit and stop this perception of what he is. Because this is the thing. If PFF said he had an awesome game, then there's a lot of people that don't know Dan Moore that says, man, that guy's a stud. But for the people that watch him and realize that, there are some discrepancies in that, we people who see it more close than others look at that grade and say, oh, y'all are full of crap. You know what I'm saying? So PFF really can't win on either side of this thing when it comes down to the judgment of them. I didn't know it was rated that high of a grade when it comes down to their grading system. But DK, how are we supposed to know what that is when they don't really give us a grid or a ledger of what they're looking at when they grade it? Because I would have thought mid-70s at the highest for goddamn Moore this past weekend.
Yeah, it's we talk about this all the time, that there are exactly two people on planet Earth who know what's supposed to happen on a given play.
Yeah.
That would be the athlete and the positional coach, and to an extent the coordinator, but even there, not even necessarily the coordinator, not at the line level, right? Okay.
No, there's a disconnect there because, again, it's such an intricate type of position, like guard, tackle, center. So intricate in the sense that a really good looking play can be a bust. And it could really be a bad play for you. Like a sack can look like it belongs to the left guard when it really belongs to the center. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the things that happen.
I do. And I also know that the O-line position, maybe more than any other in football, maybe more than any other in sports, is weighed almost entirely based on a negative outcome. So if you're like the baseball relief pitcher who comes out of the pen and throws 30 of the most immaculate dynamic pitches, curveballs falling off tables, slider that's got guys swinging out of their shoes and everything else here, but you lay one meatball in there, and the other team's big kid hits it out of the park.
Yep.
That's all anyone saw.
That's all they saw.
Except in the O-line, they didn't even see the good stuff. No one noticed the big tackle, the big tackle going downfield to take out a linebacker or whatever it is. So Dan Moore could have had, out of 70-some snaps, all but one or two that were just perfect, and we'd still be locked in on that sack.
And you know what, though, DK? As a player that's been in that position where I knew I had good games and it was graded like bad by them, or in his case, where it wasn't as great of a game as the grade suggested. As far as the public side, and this is the side that I hate, and I guess it's a love affair with it too, is, well, now the crowd see I'm doing something good. Even if my coach said I was trash this entire game.
I've also noticed too, and this goes from the reporter standpoint, when I go up to a guy that I know played well.
Yeah.
Okay. But the game was an L, and he had something to do with the L. But overall, the performance was really, really good. And I'm always curious, is he going to be honest here and say that he played well? Because it's going to sound so bad when he does.
Not in football, you can't. Although I've seen guys be more upbeat when they personally have a good game at skill positions. Oh, I got mine today.
Oh, yeah. Their chin's up.
Yeah, their chin is
up. They ate. Yeah, they ate.
And I feel like everybody in the locker room knows it too. Like, he got his, so he's good. We took this L and got beat up in the trenches, but he's good over there. Look at him.
You guys had so many of those too in your years because you guys put up so many points. And here's your wide receiver off to the side with his 12 catch day and everything else. You lost like 35-34 or whatever it was, but everybody in the offense is walking through the room like this.
You see what I'm saying? So football's too hard to take credit in a bad loss, man. It just is. But good for Dan Moore. Look at that. You guys got to put some respect on his name now.
Victory Asher writes to us in the comment that's just above Joe Arroyo's here. Says, Ramon, you would be an excellent Steelers offensive line coach.
I'd be too hard on him. Y'all wouldn't like me then.
But who wants to be liked?
I know. Well, that's probably what the fans want. We don't want a coach we love. Yeah, I'd be too bad on him, man. No, I'm better off here behind the mic. I am, man. It's a lot to ask, and I really hate criticizing coaches in a sense because I know the job of trying to tell an adult human being, hey, you need to do it this way, and they just won't do it. And then you can't find the guy behind him to do it better than he did, and you got to go back to that guy. It's tough sledding, but either you teach them or you're allowing it, and if you're allowing it, then you got to get fired too.
Richard Wise says Jalen has a little Austin Eckler in him.
And you know what? You know what we call that? A good compliment. Don't push Najee out the way. A great compliment is what he is.
No, that's he's starting to look like he could be something. That move?
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm talking about?
When he hesitated and beat him down the edge too, you saw that move? Oh, yeah.
That could have been nothing other than a 3-yarder.
Man,
that whole play.
I had a conversation with somebody about what it takes to be a championship team, and it's really getting the maximum output out of your bottom of the roster guys, meaning older veterans, undrafted free agents, and just role players. That's where you were. And Jalen Warren, to me, is in that box of we need about 4 more of him.
Scanning the still David McGuire says Najee is a poor man's Frank Pollard. That one predates you, Moan, so I'll bite the bullet on it. And no, man, don't do that. Frankie Pollard had his time. He had his time. Just be fair. You know what you're doing there?
What,
my man, is you're digging for a random, kind of blah name from the past or whatever, and just burying him. Leave Frankie to be.
Punching down.
Punching down.
Don't punch down, people.
Oh, and Mike says, don't get too excited. They weren't playing anybody on Sunday. Well, okay, the Saints did have 3 wins. I don't know. I don't like that.
I hate that, right?
I mean, the Steelers were 2-6. Who was expecting? What's fair? They were underdogs until like about 5 minutes before kickoff.
Exactly, and there's no trash team, or there's no trash players on in the NFL. It's trash teams that can't get it together, whether it be coaching or scheme. But nah, I wouldn't go that far. Even though we always bash the Browns.
You want to do this again tomorrow, Mo?
We have to, right?
Yeah, it's just required, I think.
Yeah, all right, I'll be there.
Let's do that. All right, bye.